You're listening to Unlocking Vulnerability, a podcast produced by Helen, helping you better understand consumer vulnerability. Hello, I'm Helen, and welcome to the first episode of my new podcast, Unlocking Vulnerability. Vulnerability is a much talked about topic at the moment and something that is actually going to affect us all at one time in our lives. In this episode, we're going to be looking at what vulnerability is and how it impacts people, especially when they are customers interacting with businesses. When I am talking to people about vulnerable customers, the most common question I get asked is what and who is a vulnerable customer? And there are so many different definitions of a vulnerable customer. The Financial Conduct Authority's definition is a vulnerable consumer is someone who, due to their personal circumstances, is especially susceptible to detriment, particularly when a firm is not acting with appropriate levels of care. However, when I talk to people, I like to refer to the Mental Capacity Act definition, which is a person is unable to make a specific decision if they cannot understand information, retain, use or weigh up that information as part of the decision-making process, or cannot communicate that decision. And although this definition is from the Mental Capacity Act, I think it really does sum up exactly what individuals go through when they are facing challenging circumstances, challenging life events, and it really can impact our mental clarity in making decisions that are in our best interests for today and also for the future. In 2017, the Financial Conduct Authority's survey, Financial Lives Survey, found that up to 50% of UK adults show characteristics of potential vulnerability, which is a staggering 27 million adults. It's important to recognise that this figure is made up of individuals who are facing many different vulnerable categories and circumstances. And I just want to cover 6 vulnerable categories today with you. I'm going to start with looking at the physical vulnerabilities. So when we start to first think about vulnerabilities, we immediately bring to mind people who are blind, people who may be deaf, and people that may be disabled. So there's a lot of physical circumstances, physical challenges that individuals face. And these challenges often can impact how that individual interacts with an organisation. The next vulnerable category I want to look at today is cognitive, and this covers people living with dementia, mental health conditions, and learning disabilities. I have a 21-year-old son and he has learning disabilities. We've found things very challenging when it comes to his finances, interacting with organisations. There is sometimes no clear guidance, no clear support for him. It can really be quite challenging. So throughout this podcast, I'm going to be bringing into the conversation some good practice and possibly some bad practice that we've experienced along the way when it comes to interacting with organisations. The next category I want to look at is emotional vulnerabilities. This covers a wide aspect. Again, some mental health conditions can fall into this category as well. We will be looking at individuals who may be victims of abuse, domestic abuse, economic abuse. I'll be covering all these different vulnerabilities and circumstances in future podcasts, but it's clear to get an understanding of where they sit with regards vulnerability. We're also living in a world where significant numbers of people are dealing with crime and they're victims of fraud. This can really impact people's mental clarity and their ability to cope with other things that life throws at them. So again, that's another topic that we'll be looking at in future podcasts. Also as well, there's the financial vulnerabilities. People who are perhaps living on low income, are unemployed, people living in debt. There's a significant figures on the debt that we have actually accrued in the UK. statistics show that 1 in 5 people will find it impossible to pay an unexpected bill of £300 because people are not having the savings to actually cope with unexpected bills or even just paying the bills that they've got existing now. Also, on the flip side of financial is often something that's overlooked. Somebody actually winning the lottery, winning a large substantial amount on the lottery, can put somebody in a vulnerable position because friends, family, colleagues will all come out of the woodwork. They will be wanting to put pressure on that individual to share their winnings. They may also not have the financial skills to successfully invest that money, to successfully look after that money. Maybe within a certain amount of time, that money has all been spent and they're back in the lifestyle that they were before they won that lottery. So there's sort of some flip sides there to the financial. The next vulnerable category I want to look at briefly is communication. There are a number of vulnerable circumstances and situations where people are unable to communicate successfully with other people, whether this is due to some physical impairments or even just down to maybe English not being a first language. That can really cause a barrier with organisations, with the customers not knowing how to actually achieve the outcome they want. The last vulnerable category I want to look at is probably the biggest one of them all. It probably accounts for a significant amount of those 27 million adults who may be in vulnerable circumstances, and that is just life events. Life just throws curveballs at us, whether that is redundancy, divorce, bereavement, unexpected events, unexpected incidents that can really impact somebody's emotional state, their physical state, their mental clarity. It's these events that really can significantly impact on an individual's decision making. And of course, as we know, one life event doesn't seem to happen on its own. They come in 2s or 3s. I've been divorced and then we had to sell the marital home while still looking after 2 children. It really can impact how you think, how you cope with life and things that you're just getting on with daily life. So these are some of the topics that I'm going to be covering in future podcasts. I want the aim of this podcast to bring awareness and understanding. We're now living in an inclusive and diverse society. Everyone is unique. Everyone has unique needs. Everyone is living with daily challenges. I just want to encourage people to take the time to listen, to engage with other people, and to identify and recognise that perhaps the person that you're interacting with, whether that's on a personal level or whether it's on a business level as a customer, that you are just aware of the person and their needs and how you can support them with whatever challenges they are facing. The thought I want to leave you with today is to take the time, listen, and ensure that that other person that you're engaging with, that you're interacting with, feels valued and supported. And I want to leave you with a quote from Maya Angelou. People will forget what you say. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to you joining me on the next episode.